Okay. Thank you and welcome back to the afternoon session of the Licensing Committee. I previously declared an interest in the following item of business on the agenda. I, as Vice Convener, so the Vice Convener will now take the chair. So can I ask the clerk in the first instance to confirm the attendance of those in the chamber and online, and then I'll drop out the meeting.
Okay, thanks, Convener. We have apologies this afternoon from 3 councillors, so I'll just quickly run through them. We've got Councillor Keith Allen, Councillor Anderson and Bailey Brock. Again, we've got 2 members online. I'll just ask if they can confirm that they can hear the room. Councillor Mayer?
Yes, thank you.
And Councillor Robertson?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. All other members are present in the chambers.
Thank you, Clerk. We now come to item 6 on the agenda, which is the grant of a short-term let licence, new operation at Tay Bunkhouse, Old Post Office, Logie Rate, Pitlochry, PH90LH. Members, this application is page 47 onwards in your document pack. For this item of business, we are joined in the chambers by the applicants, Mr. George Yates and Mr. Ben Case. An objection was received from Mr. James McNamee, who is not present today. I will now hand over to Moyna McLaren, who will introduce the report and advise on the procedures of the hearing. Thank you.
Yes, the committee have had an opportunity to consider the objection, but as the objector is not here today, it will be just for yourself to speak to the application, just why you're looking for a short-term let license, and also I'm assuming that you've had an opportunity to read the objection, just to respond to the points that have been raised in the objection, and also then the committee will ask questions, and then you get an opportunity to sort of sum up after that if you wish.
Thank you. I will now invite Mr. Yates and Mr. Case to provide details of the application and to respond to the written objection. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So we've owned this property for 6 years now, and over those 6 years it's been run as a group accommodation for initially it was for our activity company that we run. So we run a company called the Canyoning Company, where we run outdoor adventure activities throughout Scotland. And we were getting school groups, corporate groups, stag and hen groups initially booking with us, and we wanted to offer them accommodation as well as the activity packages. We've been registered as a hostel, essentially, sleeping 10 people for the last 6 years, and it was brought to our attention, I believe, April. I got an email from Karen, I think it may have been April or May, that we needed to apply for our short-term let license because we were registered as a hostel and we thought we were exempt. We believed we were exempt for that, but the criteria, we didn't quite fit the criteria anymore of a hostel, so we then reapplied. We applied for our short-term let license. So that's the kind of the history up to where we're at now. Would you like me to comment on the objection as well? Yeah. So with regard to the objection, Jimmy, I've never met him in person. Ben's, I've had one phone conversation with him. When we bought the property, he initially was also, he put an offer in to buy it, and I don't know if you know the location where the Logie Rate lodges are. So there's basically he owns the Logie Rate Inn, which is a pub, and then between us and them, there's a big holiday lodges where there's, I think, about 7 or 8 holiday lodges that are, yeah, maybe 10. Then there's the manager's house, which is next door to us, which is our neighbours, and then our property as well. And when the property was originally owned by the Logie Rate Lodges, a guy called Alex owned it, and it was used as a self-catering cottage at the time, so pretty much what we use it for now. And he sold it. We put an offer in. So did Jimmy. We got took our offer. The only one time that we've had a phone call from Jimmy was probably about 6 months into when we were we owned the property. Ben took a phone call from him. He was very upset, verbally aggressive, because a group that was staying at the bunkhouse had been dropped off quite late at night on the main road and walked past his property, and were being, we believe from what he was saying, they were being obnoxious, they were rude. I think they'd been out for a night in Pitlochry and arrived back late. So yeah, that next morning Ben got a phone call, which was brutal, to be honest. It was very verbally aggressive, and since then we've had no communication with Jimmy. He's never complained to us about any issues. We've never had any letters from him, any communication from him or anything over 6 years. So to see this objection is quite shocking to me and Ben. It's almost, we believe it's almost slanderish, some of the stuff that he's saying in there. And a lot of the stuff that's written in there is just simply not true. The way I read it, it seems like it's almost like aggressively trying to put us down. So yeah, that's. Do you think I need to comment further on that, or?
A few of the statements that he's made are inaccurate. He says we take up to 14 people, I think, in the property, and we only take up to 10. We only ever have, and it may be that it could have been guests at the Loggerate Lodges. We're not sure if it was the people that he was referring to at the bunkhouse, but it could have been. We have had issues with noise, and we deal with it with the managers at the lodges. Their house overlooks our garden, and when people have been up later, we try and address it straight away. We have a WhatsApp group with them where they contact us, and if there is any issue, we deal with it straight away. We phone the guests. We'll go up and meet the guests as well, and we try and do everything we can. And they've been really good with us. They're lovely managers next door, and we try and do our best to kind of keep things good with them.
Yeah, so just finally for me on that is we, the way people book our accommodation is through booking.com or Airbnb, and on both those platforms we state that we don't allow parties or events. We've had that up for years. Probably about 10% of the bookings that we take now are through our adventure business with the group packages. That can be school groups, corporate groups, whatever. We don't take and allow stag do's up there. Sometimes they slip through the net, but we can't. There's only so much policing you can do when a group of 10 people book your accommodation. We send them an automated WhatsApp, an automated message saying that, you know, just to make you aware, we don't allow parties or events. But very occasionally groups have come through which that they are a stag do, or they are a group of people that are there for a party weekend. And as Ben said, we will address it. But the way that Jimmy's put it in here, saying every weekend, is just completely wrong. We don't have wild parties there every weekend. Me and Ben have never attended a party up there. There's also one thing he says in here is when if you dare to object, you receive the most vile response. These parties have taken place regularly, almost every weekend. But I've never spoken to Jimmy. He's never contacted us, so I don't know where that's come from. And the final thing is, obviously, this is only one objection. Our neighbours who live next door haven't objected. They're perfectly happy with what's going on there. So yeah, just take that into consideration as well. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Do members have any questions for Mr. Yates or Mr. Case? Councillor Frampton.
Thank you. Can you tell me where you put the public notice?
Yeah, so initially we put the public notice on, we've got a cabin at the end of the garden, and there's a throughway to there's like a footpath that goes through to the church graveyard. Initially we put it there. I was then contacted by Karen to say that it wasn't in the right appropriate place. So we moved it to the bus stop on the main road on a lamppost there. There were other things up on there, so it's a very public place. So that was our mistake. It wasn't intentional. But then we moved it and put it up in a better place. Thanks.
Councillor Carr.
Thank you. It was just a query. Obviously, you won't get any complaints from anyone to the west side of the property, but it did seem strange to me that the complaint came in from somebody, and you're right, there is 10 holiday cottages between you and the objector, but you're saying there that the house right next door, they've never complained or issued or anything. I mean, I haven't put an objection in, and you have a good relationship with them and good communication with them through WhatsApp, etc.
Yeah, we there's been 3 sets of managers that have come into that property, and they're employed by the Loggerate lodges to run and oversee it. They have had issues. We're not going to lie. We take a group of 10 people. People might want to sit up in the evening and stay up a bit late. They have had some problems with noise, as they have with their own the holiday lodges that are there. There was only last weekend. I believe they had to evict a group because they were being noisy there. So yeah, we have a great communication. We speak to them every time we go up, and yeah, we're on WhatsApp. It was only this morning actually. They asked if they could use our garden space for some friends coming up next weekend, because we didn't have a booking for next weekend. So.
Councillor Mayer.
Thank you, Vice Convener. Could I ask George and Ben, so in relation to the noise, have there ever then been any inquiries by the police? Have they ever been alerted and come to you, having been contacted by any of the neighbours about noise?
Yeah, so over the 6 years, there have probably been, I think, twice the police have been called to the property. The first time I recall was a group. It was about 4 years ago. They were being really obnoxious. I think they turned up already under the influence of alcohol, and they were just being rude and obnoxious. And we advised the managers at the time. We just said, look, if it's getting out of hand, just phone the police. So I believe that happened. And then maybe about 3 months ago, we'd had a group previous who'd been quite noisy. The managers next door had said to me and Ben that, look, they're not prepared to deal with groups if they're going to be noisy. They'll just call the police. So the police were called to a group, and it was quite difficult actually, because we spoke to the group leader who booked the accommodation, and he phoned us after the police attendance, and he said that they were all inside playing board games, and the police didn't really know why they'd been called. But I think the managers next door were just at the point after the previous group the weekend before, they just didn't want to deal with it. And I believe they couldn't get through to me and Ben as well, because it was about midnight and we were both asleep in our own houses. So yeah, so the police have been called, but it's not on a regular basis over that 6 years.
Thank you.
Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, thank you, Vice Convener. What kind of these 10% of the people are people through your canyoning company? The other kind of 90%, are they mainly outdoors people? What kind of activities are they doing?
Yeah, so the majority book through Airbnb and Booking.com. We get family groups, corporate groups. We have a regular yoga group that come up and stay and do that. They're generally looking for lower budget group accommodation in the area to do. It can be anything from just walking, enjoying the forests, to outdoor activities. We regularly get walking groups and cycling groups turning up there as well. The area does have group accommodation, but it's quite usually estate houses or country houses. So we kind of cater for that. Not low budget by any means. We charge £1,000 for the weekend, for a group. But if there's 10 people, you know, it's £100 for a weekend. It's relatively lower budget than you know, spending £3,000 or £4,000 for accommodation over the weekend in a estate house or something.
Councillor Robertson.
Thank you, Vice Convener. Given your location, do you have ground surrounding your property as well? I think I know where it is, but I think there is ground surrounding it. And is that ground used by the people living in the building? I've got two questions. That's my first one.
Yeah, so we have quite a large garden that runs down to the river. I would say it's a third of an acre. To the right, looking out the front of the building, to the right-hand side, we have the graveyard for the church next door, which is a dormant graveyard. It's not really used anymore. And to the left of us, we have the manager's property for the Loggerate lodges, and then 10 lodges throughout. And our property runs right onto the Tay, so we have the fishing access rights onto the Tay. So there's nobody else really around us apart from holidaymakers and people in the graveyard next door.
Right, thank you. Would it cause you a concern if this committee put a condition on any license granted about the hours that you could actually use the outside space, for example, after say 10 o'clock at night?
Yeah, so we were very prominent in our house rules. We brought that here on our website, and we have pictures and notices up in the property that any outside noise after 10 o'clock, any outside activity after 10 o'clock is to be taken indoors. And most of our guests completely comply with that. It's just the very, very few numbers to where, you know, it might get a little bit noisy outside, and then we're always contacted. Just to let everybody know as well, I maybe should have said this at the start. The property is currently up for sale. Me and Ben are selling the property. It was a decision we made about 6 months ago. We wanted to release some equity and initially went to remortgage, and we found out the amount that the property's worth, which was considerably more than we expected. And so we had a couple of other projects to do with our outdoor business on the side that we wanted funding for. So we just decided that actually, now that we don't put stag and hen do's in there, it doesn't really support our outdoor business. So it's just a property on the side that brings us a very small income, really. So yeah, it's currently up for sale. We've got viewings. We might have an offer go in this week as well. So yeah, I don't know if that would change any decisions, but
thank you.
Just to add to that, George, the people that have viewed it, we do have one person that is very interested. They want to potentially take it on as a going concern. So they may need a let license. They've already been in touch with the council to find out what the process would that be. But the other kind of main thing is that we do still have bookings into the next year, and we don't know how long the property is going to take to sell. So yeah, that would affect us quite a lot, just financially with the property. Thanks.
Councillor Frampton.
Thank you, but my question was already answered in what they've just said.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Braun.
Yeah, thanks, Vice Convener. The gentleman just answered part of my question, but as a technical point, can the license be transferred to a new purchaser, or do they have to apply separately? Can it be grandfathered in?
As of the 31st of August, yes, licenses can be transferred. So while new owners or day-to-day managers would go through a fit and proper person check, the license itself is transferable.
If I may, and the conditions on that license would be transferred with it?
That's correct, yes.
Are there any more questions? No, I don't see any more questions in the room or online. So I'd like to invite Mr. Yates and Mr. Case to sum up. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just we've had this property for 6 years now. We've had no problems with it at all. That there always is going to be some issues when you have a group accommodation as such, where you're going to invite people, numbers of people to get together. We believe that the objection that's come through from Jimmy is it's so far away from the truth, and I don't want that to dampen everybody's thoughts and decisions. It's not a party house. It's not a wild party house. It's a great place in the countryside for groups to go and enjoy the outdoors and enjoy a space which is well away from any people dwelling there. And it's been a great place where we've facilitated a lot of nice groups and experiences for people up there. So yeah, that's it from me.
Okay, thank you. Do members wish to adjourn to discuss? Okay, all right, we're going to discuss for a short period of time and we'll be back.
Week off, 3 weeks on.
Thank you, everybody. Is everybody back and online? Okay, thank you. Thank you for your patience. My motion is to grant the application with the following conditions. One, that garden grounds should not be used by short-term let residents for social gatherings after 10 p.m. each day. That there is no excessive noise within the property by short-term let guests after 10 p.m. And thirdly, that the owners of the property should provide contact details to neighbours in the event that there's any difficulties. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Frampton. Are there any amendments? There are no amendments. In that case, the application has been granted. Thank you. I will now hand the chair back to Bailey Williamson for the remainder of the business on the agenda today.
Thank you, everybody. Members, this application is page 59 onwards of your document pack. For this item, we're joined in the chambers by the applicant, Kellyanne Pereira. We're joined via the telephone by Lindsay Scott and objects to the application. Lindsay, can you confirm that you can hear us?
I can.
Okay, thank you. Could I advise you that the committee members have received and thoroughly reviewed a copy of your objection prior to the meeting. It is requested that you keep your explanation of your objection to no more than 10 minutes. Additional grounds of objection or representation should not be added at this time. Only the grounds of objection and representation included in your initial submission may be referenced. Therefore, could I invite Lindsay Scott to provide details of her objection?
Thank you. We're objecting to the property next door to us being let out on short-term letting to Airbnb. This is primarily because we live in a built-up residential area where there's minimal space between properties and no privacy other than a slatted fence between our gardens. The groups that are attracted by Airbnb are not with the intention of a quiet residential area. There is no regulator for Airbnb, and with the owners next door putting a hot tub into the garden, which was overlooked by at least 7 or 8 different properties, we feel that that is also asking for the wrong types of groups. We're both hardworking people that work in the cities during the week. We come home to our place of home as a retreat. We raise a young family. My youngest daughter's 1. And this was, we only bought the property last year in Hunting Tower in Perth. It's a very quiet residential area. We bought that property with a view that we were living in a nice quiet space to retreat after a hard-working week and raise our family in peace and quiet. We feel that Airbnb properties around right next door to us will just take away our privacy, lead to noise and nuisance. And we feel that the owners did not let us know in an appropriate manner other than placing a letter on their door, which was really unfortunate. There was no dialogue face to face or just even a tap on the door to let us know what their intentions were. So we were quite dismayed by that, and that doesn't lead to good collaboration should there be any problems. Having listened to the previous one, if the property had been in the countryside and could be properly managed, then we'd have a lot more faith. But we are in a residential estate of around 200 houses, and we're fortunate that it's very quiet, and we want it to remain that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Do members have any questions? Questions? Okay, thank you very much, Lindsay. But I now invite Kellyanne Pereira to provide details of our application to respond to the objection received.
Hello. English is not my first language, so I've written down what I wanted to say because sometimes I do stumble with my words, so I'll try and be brief. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this meeting. I appreciate the chance to clarify the situation and provide additional context regarding my application for a short-term letting license for my property. In response to the objection raised by my neighbor, Mr. Lee Barron, I would like to start by addressing his concerns regarding the impact of a short-term letting on our neighborhood. My property is a detached 4-bedroom house with no shared walls with neighboring properties. It features a spacious driveway that comfortably accommodates 2 cars, thereby alleviating any potential parking issues. The house is situated within a large modern development of 275 homes, which is vibrant and well established. This area is not a quiet cul-de-sac, but a respectful community with good access to major transport routes, including A9, M90, located just at the first junction of the development. And it's just 3 miles from the town center. We have local amenities such as the Glover's Arm Pub and Restaurant, Dobie's Garden Center, which regularly welcomes tourist coaches, and a travel lodge at the entrance of the development already attract a significant flow of visitors. Given the size and character of the area, I respectfully disagree with the assertion that a short-term let would negatively impact our community. With regard to the rental arrangement, I plan to rent out the entire property as a 3-bedroom house, limiting occupancy to a maximum of 6 guests. I will not be renting room by room. And the guests will primarily consist of families seeking a safe, comfortable, and pleasant place to stay while visiting Perth, as well as professionals affiliated with organizations such as the NHS, Aviva, etc. I will clearly communicate house rules to all guests, including prohibition of parties and excessive noise after 10 p.m., ensuring that all guests remain respectful of the neighbors. To further reassure the licensing authority, I want to emphasize that I will take guest vetting seriously and adhere to the strict policies of Airbnb, in addition to implementing my own screening process. While it may not seem directly relevant, I would like to mention that I have a fashion jewelry design studio within the property, which contains valuable equipment. The studio, along with the 4th bedroom, will be securely locked and inaccessible to guests. Furthermore, the property has been meticulously decorated to a high standard, creating an inviting and aesthetically pleasing atmosphere. This reflects my commitment to maintaining a quality living space, which in turn attracts a specific type of guests. I seek high-quality guests who appreciate and respect well-maintained environments, ensuring that my property remains a safe and enjoyable place for all. I hope to appeal to families and professionals who value a welcoming and well-kept space during their stay, aligning their expectations with the high standard of hospitality I aim to provide. So, in addressing the objection concerning safety and awareness of who is next door, I would like to assure Mr. Barron that I intend to carefully vet my guests and adhere to strict guidelines for responsible renting. It's in my best interest to welcome trustworthy tenants, and I will personally handle all bookings and communications. To enhance privacy, I have arranged for landscaping work that commenced this December 2nd, and that is including the installation of double fencing to improve privacy for both Mr. Barron and myself, ensuring that neither party can see directly into the other space. Furthermore, I have installed CCTV cameras at both the front and rear of the property to monitor the premises and enhance the safety of my guests, my neighbors, and myself. I would also like to address Mr. Barron's comments regarding communication. My intention has always been to engage with my immediate neighbors regarding the letting before it commenced, and I had hoped to exchange contact details to facilitate open communication should any issues arise. Although I have encountered Mr. Barron several times while coming and going, he has not raised any questions about the application with me directly. I understand that he may have perceived my outreach as insufficient, and I apologize if I caused any offense. It was never my intention to be disrespectful. I'm confident that the steps I've taken to address concerns related to both the property and communication with my neighbors will contribute to a positive and respectful environment. So.
Thank you. Do members have any questions? There are no questions.
Sorry, Mike, I did mean to ask a question, convener.
Okay.
I actually intended to ask a question of Miss Scott, but I didn't get to the button quickly enough. Is it okay still to ask a question of the Miss Scott?
Yes, I'll be fine. No.
Thank you, convener. Ms. Scott, I heard at the beginning of your objection, you said that your family worked in the city. Can I take it from that you're actually only resident at the property at the weekends? Thank you.
No, sorry, we're fully resident here all the time. I work away, but usually in an early morning flight and a late flight back, and it could be Glasgow City, London City, Manchester. As I was referring to, we work hard in the hustle and bustle all week long. So, but we are residing at the property full time.
Thank you. I just wanted some clarification on that. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Kidbina. My question is to Ms. Pereira. You say that you're intending to vet all the people that let the property. I just wondered, excuse me, what sort of processes are involved in doing that?
I could, for example, not accept any guests without any government ID. I cannot allow any bookings to be done automatically without myself accepting the guests first and understanding the reason for their trip. There are a few steps we can do to avoid getting the wrong type of guests. It's in my best interest to have the right people in. It's possible to also even ask for a deposit if the guests are really serious and the right people and intend to have a good stay. I also don't intend to rent the property out fully, totally, 365 days a year. It's mostly the weekends that I intend to rent it out, unless it's for workers that are here on contract and need to stay the whole week.
Are there any further questions to Ms. Pereira? Ms. Pereira, could I ask where you stay?
5 minutes away in Tibermore.
Okay, if there are no further questions to Ms. Pereira, could I invite Lindsay Scott to sum up, please?
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us today. It would have been fantastic if we'd had that collaboration with our neighbour ahead of seeing the notice on the door. It really does mean a lot to us to live in a safe, quiet space and raise our families. As I said, we have really hard-working careers, and this is our place of retreat. We will have no option but to put the house on the market should this go ahead. That's how strongly we feel about it. It's really sad that it's come to this, but we just don't feel living in a housing estate with an Airbnb next door is what we want for our family. It's a personal decision. I don't think Airbnbs personally are correct in a family estate, and the design is for a community rather than random people coming every weekend to utilise a hot tub in the garden next door. I'm looking out the bedroom window right now and think there's at least 20 other properties that can look into that garden, and will all be affected with us. So thank you for taking the time. It's just unfortunate this situation has arisen.
Thank you. Could I invite Ms. Pereira to sum up, please?
I've said all I wanted to say. I just respectfully request that my application for a short-term letting license be granted, and I thank you for considering my request.
We're nearly there. Do members wish to adjourn for further discussion? Yes? Yep. Okay, we're back in a few moments. Ms. Pereira, do you mind if I could just clarify, is there a hot tub within your premises?
So sorry. Put this closer to me. I have hired a landscaper to do the fencing, new grass, some slabs in the garden, a pergola at the back with a hot tub and privacy screens, so neighbors are not seen. There isn't a hot tub yet. I have plans to put a hot tub by summertime.
So my motion is to grant the application subject to the following conditions: that the garden grounds are not used by short-term let guests for the purposes of social gatherings, including the use of a hot tub after 9 p.m. each day. No amplified music to be played in the garden after 9 p.m. either. Okay, do I have a seconder?
Yeah, I'm happy to second.
Are there any amendments? If there are no amendments, the license has been granted subject to those conditions.
Thank you. Thank you.
Could I advise all those present and online that we've come to the end of the public session of this meeting, and we'll now be moving into a private session for the remaining items of business. I'd ask any members online to now join via the private session in their calendar.